which is to be expected when we take an honest look at trying to figure out whether there's some sort of greater intelligence out there. And for me, it goes like this. When there are credible reports of things that are flying out there in the sky from fighter jets, from fighter pilots, we need scientific testing, exploration of what that can be, obviously, right? If only if it was that simple, because we've opened up the door of all of this, and it's kind of become this Pandora's box of all kinds of stuff. Now, all of a sudden, claims of ancient aliens, flying saucers recovered, hidden by the government, in New Mexico, different alien species living among us. Some of that is now actually going into the congressional records as lawmakers get official briefings from experts they invite out to Capitol Hill. One of those experts, though, is somebody that we have talked to a lot on our show, has always helped me keep science top of mind. Let's bring in the director of the Institute of Theory and Computation over at Harvard, Professor Avi Loeb. Professor Loeb, great to see you. Watched the congressional briefing very, very diligently here. Before we start, I want to play this. This is you asking lawmakers like a $1 billion question here. Let's play it.
My point is simple. We should invest $1 billion in figuring out what is in our sky. If 1 out of 1 million objects came from outside the solar system, the person who finds that object will get the Nobel Prize. It's a win-win situation.
$1 billion. That's a big ask, unless, of course, you possibly change everything that we know about the universe, and it would be a very small ask. How would this work? What are you envisioning?
Well, it's actually not a big ask because it's 0.1% of the defense budget for 2026. And it's about 10% of the amount of money allocated to the next big observatory in space, the Habitable Worlds Observatory, that will search for microbes on exoplanets. And frankly, I find microbes much more boring than intelligent beings in our cosmic neighborhood for a simple reason. We can learn from a smarter kid in our block. And it's really important to figure out whether we are alone or not. It's the most romantic question in science, whether we have a partner, but it will also carry huge consequences for our future because we may learn about technologies that we've never possessed. And I was asked by religious scholars, what would be the implications for religion? And I said, I have 2 daughters. When the second one was born, it didn't take away from the love that I have to the first one. So it's demeaning to imagine God being able to attend only to one civilization.
Wow. And in terms of this funding, if you did get $1 billion, like here's your check, what does it go to? AI, figuring out what's flying around? What would you be looking for?
A lot of people argue that the military already has equipment that costs much more than $1 billion. My point is it's not about the sensors, it's about how you analyze the data. And it's similar to the Manhattan Project. If you were to put $1 billion in this direction, the best scientists in the world can be recruited. I can recruit them, and they would be able to develop AI algorithms that are the best, never used before, to analyze the data, look for anomalies. The issue is to interpret the anomalies correctly, and for that you need very smart people that are not necessarily employed by government right now. And so my claim is it would serve well the Department of Defense to figure out what these unidentified objects are, because otherwise we might be worried. Maybe they belong to adversarial nations that have technologies beyond what we understand. And if we find that 1 in a billion are objects from another civilization, that would be just the icing on the cake. But otherwise, the Department of Defense can continue to use these AI algorithms, these sensors that are being developed to protect the nation against any threat from the sky.
And real fast, in this conversation, there are also conversations that are happening where people on that panel are bringing up possible alien species that may be living among us. I think like reptilians, greys. Nordics. There were some weird little side conversations here. Right. When it comes to all that, real quick, like scientifically, are you all on the same page, or?
As a scientist, I respond to evidence. If I see any evidence in that direction, I will believe it. But if the government has materials, data, I would like to see it and help them figure it out. And of course, they may have issues with that because the sensors that were used are classified, or because they don't want to show the vulnerability of the Department of Defense to things in the sky that they don't understand.
Well, if they do show you, will you tell me? Maybe?
Yes, I will.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. Professor Loeb, thank you so very much for joining us. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.